What is going on, guys? We are back for another episode of Pokemon Top 5s. This week we'll be covering the top 5 gym leaders. We covered the Elite Four and the champions in the previous 2 episodes, kind of because Pokemon Masters was and Pokemon Journeys was kind of going on. So wanted to kind of get those out, kind of when it was still fresh for everybody, what the best champions could do. But we're now here for the top 5 gym leaders, and of course, as always, guys, this list is 100% opinionated. Kind of based off of a variety of things, not just their Pokemon, but like kind of how I felt going to the gyms. And of course, if you have a different list, make sure to leave it in the comment section down below. I would love to see it. And yeah, I mean, make sure to leave a like and subscribe while you're down there. You know, the support is always appreciated. And without further ado, let us just hop right into number 5. Alright, so at number 5 we have Brock, the Pewter City Gym Leader. He is the first gym leader in the Kanto region, and you know, a lot of people will maybe question why Brock is on this list. And for me anyways, you know, I never really found him that difficult when it came to picking Bulbasaur or Squirtle as my starter. If you pick one of them, you basically have a free gym badge. And so you know, I can understand people's questions, you know, especially where Squirtle is probably one of the more popular ones. You know, I was a rebel and chose Bulbasaur, but it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, if you pick Charmander, though, this is underratedly one of the hardest gym leaders in the entire game. Like, basically, when you think about it, right, you have Route 1, you have Pidgey and Rattata. Route 2, same kind of thing. Then you have Route 22 or 21, whatever one it is, that's down on the way to Victory Road, and you only really have access to a Spearow, and then you have like a 5% chance at a Mankey and a 5% chance at a Nidoran. And actually it's a 1% chance at a Nidoran and a 5% chance at a Mankey. So you have a 6% chance of getting the encounter that you need that can actually handle Brock. And then if you don't get one of those 2 rare encounters, you then walk up to Viridian Forest, where your encounters are Pikachu, which is immune. You have another potential for a Pidgey, and then you have Kakuna, you know, Kakuna line, you have Caterpie, Metapod line. And so you don't really get anything if you pick Charmander that can handle Brock. You're basically relying on over-leveling your Charmander, evolve into a Charmeleon, and then get Metal Claw. That is your only hope for taking on Brock in the first gym. And so, for me anyways, just because of who your starter is, it just impacts what's available to you so much in this first gym that, to me, Brock actually made my list as being one of the hardest gym leaders, depending on the situation. So Brock, for me, is number 5, kind of with an asterisk. But yeah, that is my reasoning for him being on number 5. But without further ado, let us hop in to number 4. Alright, so at number 4 we have Clay, the ground type Unova gym leader. Now, Clay is honestly a menace. I have never played Gen 5 fully. So, you know, I've touched at it. I've never really completed the game. I've never even gotten actually past Clay. Clay is actually the furthest I've ever gotten in Gen 5, and I remember Clay being an absolute monster. Then you look at his team and you go, okay, it's a Krokorok, you know, potential Intimidate there. You have a Sand Slash. If he wants to set up the sand with his Onix or whatever, I mean, he has Sand Veil, and Sands, you know what I mean, and Sand Rush with Excadrill. So I mean, he is a very, very powerful sand team if he wants. Good defense and Intimidate, and then that Excadrill just does so much damage. It's the fastest Pokemon on the field, 9 times out of 10. It's a Steel type in Generation 5, so you know, Steels and Dragons basically dominated the metagame. And then you have a very high physical defense in Onix, and then you have this Krokorok, which is also really, really good. And so for me, he basically, his theme, although despite the fact that he could use a Sandstorm thing, he mostly focuses around just slowing your opponent, slowing you down with like Bulldoze. And then he rocks in with Excadrill at the end and just obliterates you. And so for me, he's actually a super hard trainer to fight. You get a couple of encounters that you can deal with him, but unless you get them in a Nuzlocke run, he can just destroy you with his Excadrill. He's basically the first Pokemon that you really encounter that could be a run killer. And so for me, that is why he is number 4, but let us move on to number 3. And speaking of run killers, we now have the menace, the absolute menace, Winona. Now, Winona is one of the most underrated, I'm going to obliterate you teams you've ever seen. So she has a Swallow, which obviously can double team, you know, and do Swallow things. I don't believe she has Guts on this Swallow, so it isn't so much about her not being able to, you know, she kind of misses out on some damage output, but basically after that, after her Swallow, she comes in with a Pelipper. Now, you might be saying, Pelipper is not really a threat. And I agree with you, but here's the difference. That's potential Rain Dance, and if she was in a newer generation, that Pelipper would have Drizzle. So that's a rain boosting Pokemon that's now able to Hurricane and Surf on you, which is crazy. Or potentially, her whole team could Tailwind too. And so Pelipper might not be an immediate threat, but that Pelipper does have Rain Dance in no matter what generation you're playing in. And then she brings out a Skarmory that has spikes. You know, she's protecting herself from fire damage with Skarmory as well, with the rain. And Skarmory's a threat in its own right? 140 defense and a pretty decent attack stat. You gotta respect the fact that it's a Steel type of Generation 3. And then you move on, and then she has this Altaria. And, you know, we've never seen in Pokemon really before or after. Until you really get to Gen 8, you never really see a gym leader with a setup move. Like, how many gym leaders do you see with setup moves? I mean, you see potentially one of the psychic trainers. Oh, I guess there was Gen 6 where they Calm Minded up, but even in Gen 1, when they give you Calm Mind as a TM, they never really use Calm Mind. But Winona actually uses her Altaria with Dragon Dance. And then this Altaria also has Earthquake. You basically have no access to any Ice type, period. So you don't have to worry about Ice types. So she really only has to worry about Electric types for her gym. And then her Altaria is Dragon Dancing and Earthquake. So she is designed to take out your one counter that you should realistically have, and Rock types aren't doing nothing either. So her team's actually really well designed to handle Rock types, and then her Altaria kind of handles the Electric types, right? So, and it's neutral because she's part Dragon. So for me, Winona is really the first Pokemon that she could literally sweep through your entire team if you let her set up. So for me, that's why she's number 3, but let us move on to number 2. Alright, so at number 2, we have Drayden, the mentor of Champion Iris. They both rock out with Haxoruses, but the thing about Drayden is that his entire team has Dragon Tail. So you can't set up against him, and he'll phase you out. He won't let you get the matchup that you want, so you kind of just have to do damage with whatever's in, and you need to kill. Now, 2 of his Pokemon are times 4 weak to Ice, and so if you can get an Ice type move, you have a pretty good shot, but all 4 of his Pokemon with Dragon Tail, so he's going to switch you around, you're not going to get the matchup you want. And then his Haxorus also has Dragon Rage, or not Dragon Rage, Dragon Dance. So on top of the fact that he's now chipped down your team probably quite a bit with a bunch of Dragon Tails, he then turns around and sets up himself. And so you can just see why Iris is as good as she is. She has to be able to beat Drayden, right? So to become champion. So for me anyways, Drayden is one of the best 8th gym leaders around. I mean, he is a challenge through and through. He doesn't really let you just take advantage of his typing, and he really kind of forces you to just have 6 Pokemon that can go toe to toe. And that's sort of kind of how you approach it. He doesn't let you just game plan him early on. And so for me, that actually makes him one of the more sophisticated gym leaders. Winona and DRAYDEN are really on a different wavelength than the other gym leaders. And so for me, that is why DRAYDEN is number 2. But let us move on to number 1. And number 1, I don't think you can put a top 5 gym leader list and not have Blue. Blue, as I said earlier in my champions video, I decided I had to make the decision whether I was going to make Blue a champion or an Elite 4 member. And technically he's a champion of Gen 1 for like a hot minute. And then realistically, he is the 8th gym leader when you get into Johto. And so for me, he's the only Pokemon, he's the only trainer that isn't monotype. And so for me, right away, his team has crazy diversity, right? He has his ace is a Pidgeot, which as far as aces go is not really the most threatening. But then you look at the rest of his team. Machamp. No Guard Machamp is a threat. A Gyarados, which is one of the best Nuzlocking Pokemon, period. A Rhydon, or Rhyperior, depending on when you fight him. I mean, a crazy good physical defense, crazy good attack, crazy good HP. And then you have Arcanine with Intimidate, a really powerful fire type. He has a Fire, Water, Grass core, and can attack on the physical or special side. And then he has a Trick Rooming Exeggutor, which as far as grass types go, it's pretty unique. But it's a very good Pokemon. And so for me, the fact that he's the only non-monotype trainer just puts him on a different level, and then the fact that he's kind of a champion level trainer puts him in a different stratosphere in terms of gym leaders. Like, he is your ultimate challenge as far as gym leaders go. But that is my top 5 gym leaders list this week. If you have a different list, let me know in the comment section down below. I probably think we're going to see a lot of Whitney here in the comments, but because Whitney absolutely can be a lock killer. The reason that I didn't put Whitney on this list is actually because you can get a trade evolution for a static Pokemon. I believe it's static, right? I believe it's like it's a Sudowoodo for the Machop. Is that what the trade is? I can't remember fully. But you can get a trade like right in that town, and then you get a Machop up from a trade, and then that Machop can sweep through her whole team. And so for me, she has a lot of RNG, don't get me wrong. I mean, that Clefairy is using Metronome, and for whatever reason, it always seems to go for like the craziest move possible. And then of course, if you let that Miltank go out and start rolling out, I mean, you're in trouble. But for me, I just felt that there was something right there that could handle her. Where Brock, for example, depending on who your starter was, you don't have an option. And so for me, that's sort of kind of where my distinction came in. But yeah, anyways, let me know in the comment section down below. Claire's another one that I also thought about as well. Very powerful Kingdra with Sniper. So without further ado though, I'm gonna get out of here. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.